the National Development Plan 4. To elaborate on this, we are joined by Joshua Marvin Onyang, a monitoring and evaluation lead at Uganda Parliamentary Forum on Social Protection. You're most welcome to Morning at NTV. How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you. I'm very glad to be here.
Great. Looking at the forecast and the projections here, looks like we could have something slightly lower than 72.4 that we had last time, or the budget that will be winding up, that is 72.4 trillion. But these are estimates. What are we looking at?
Yes, currently I think that total stands at 69.4 trillion. And as you've intimated, last year it was about 72 trillion. But these are estimates, and we're still very early in the stages.
That's right.
I think by maybe mid-April, we'll have some figures that we could be concrete with. But I also believe that that could rise to the previous figure or even slightly above.
Slightly above?
Yes.
On account of?
On account of the fact that there are certain priorities that have not yet been stipulated, and as the budget progresses, they will start creeping in, and in a sense, unfunded priorities will find their ways into that budget, and that is why I'm estimating that maybe it will go back to about 72, or even I'm thinking maybe to 74 trillion. That is the estimate that I think it may reach.
All right. Now, the financial year 2026-2027 is the second year of implementation of the National Development Plan 4 and the 10-fold growth strategy. And of course, this is under the theme, as described here by the Ministry of Finance: higher household incomes, full monetization of the economy, and employment for sustainable socio-economic transformation. Socio-economic transformation that is sustainable must be anchored on certain pillars, and social protection is one of them. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so if you look at the budgeting that we have, we've moved away from what we refer to as sector-based budgeting to now program-based budgeting.
Program-based budgeting, yeah.
And under program-based budgeting, we have what we call the human capital development. The human capital development has various sectors within it. One of them is social protection, the other one is education, and the other one is health. And when you look at those various sectors that I have stipulated, these speak directly to the human being. For a human being to become productive, one, they need to have education. They have to have education. Education will ensure that as they grow older, they'll have employable skills, and therefore be a benefit to the economy of the country. Secondly, for that person to scale through that education, they have to be healthy.
Yeah.
Without health, of course, there are certain limitations that could come. We see, for instance, in Uganda here, we have over 30% of the children are being stunted. Being stunted means that child will never be able to achieve its full potential. Yeah. And with that, that becomes a disservice not only to the child, but also to the government and to the economy. And thirdly, when you look at now the element of social protection comes in to ensure that across the life cycle, which is a formula that the National Development Plan 4 has also adopted, that planning for a person begins from the time that they are conceived to the time that they exit the world. So you realize that when a child is born, there are issues that they will have. One of them would be that stunting, they could be malnourished, and various issues. Then they will progress into a stage of when they're in school. When they're in school, there are different challenges that they'll have. One of them being some of them are not able to afford school fees. Some of them may not have, like the disabled persons, may not have access to the proper education that they need to meet their disability. Yeah. Then you move into the working age group. We have a very large number of youth in that category who are unemployed, underemployed, and do not have a form of shock absorber in the event that a shock happens to them.
That is right.
And a shock can happen to anybody. It is not limited to the most vulnerable persons. It can happen to anybody. And then you, of course, progress into the older stages where sometimes you're productive, sometimes your energy has depreciated and you cannot be as productive. So looking at it in that context, those three programs feed into the human capital development. But when you look at the National Development Plan 4, it looks at addressing socio-economic transformation, and one of the models that they intend to do that is through social protection, to show you that social protection is an investment, to ensure that nobody is left behind. Everybody is carried on with this bus of development that is moving. That
is right. Now, the ability of policy trickle-down, especially to the vulnerable persons, is something that is often debated and discussed year in, year out. I hear a lot of policy frameworks and people talking about the fact that those that are vulnerable haven't been reached sufficiently. You begin to think that maybe if they are reached sufficiently, then there could be some tremendous improvement. When you sample out those that have actually benefited from many of the programs that are rolled out by government, you don't see that happening as effectively as the policies stipulate. I do not know whether it's down to the handout regime. Talk to us about the disconnect, because even when in communities where the social protection endeavors have actually reached the ground, you don't see the remarkable transformation that is supposed to happen.
Okay, first of all, you've used a terminology that many of us in social protection do not want to hear, the element of handout. But understandably so, it just means that I just need to maybe build on that to bring out the information. But social protection is not a handout. Social protection is an investment. And the reason why many would think it is a handout is because the dividends of social protection are not seen immediately.
They're not immediate.
Yes, they are long-term dividends. So ideally, when you look at physical growth, for instance, when you say building rising, then automatically you assume development is happening. But that development cannot happen without the human beings. Exactly. The danger of that development happening without the human beings is you will have an issue like what you see in the Middle East. Many people admire the Middle East, but the Middle East is rarely dependent on international personnel to run their systems, because they did not take the time to develop the capacity of their human beings. As they grew ahead of their human beings. And therefore, what happens now is that in the event that maybe skills change and people start moving elsewhere, their own people, their citizenry are not able to sustain what they have. Wow. So that is the danger that we have. But now to come back to address your issue of policy trickling down to the grassroots and how that effect can be felt. For the context of social protection, of course, Uganda has very many policies that are filed in very many cabinets. Many of them, in fact, even as I'm discussing social protection and policies that maybe feed into it, I'm surprised by some of them.
Wow.
Yes, because we have very many, we are very rich policy-wise, but I think we've been lagging in terms of that implementation.
Which is a very critical issue.
Yes, but currently, just to speak to the policy that we have in place, we have the National Social Protection Policy 2015, which is now up for review. I think this year they should be able to revise that policy, because 2015 to now is almost 10 years, and we need to ensure that whatever was discussed in that policy fits into the context of 2025, that the issues that were brought out at that stage are still the same issues that we're dealing with now. But we also have the National Social Protection Strategy that guides in the way social protection is implemented, and all these are under the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, particularly under the Expanding Social Protection Program Unit. Okay. About the issue of implementation of these policies on ground. To an extent, there is implementation of these policies, but largely, if you look at the funding that goes down to the component of social protection. It is very meager. And with all these good policies in place, you are not able to achieve that because you have the country has not prioritized funding to these areas that would ideally implement these policies. But also to state that we have different social protection programs on the ground.
I was just going to ask and perhaps also urge you to elaborate on the extent to which these programs are rolling out. The last time I heard that some parts of the country were still under pilot.
Yes, so now we have a flagship program currently, which is the Senior Citizens Grant. That is the flagship program for social protection. Yeah. That program, in its design, was supposed to transfer a stipend of 25,000 shillings to persons who are 65 years and above. But when we came down to the national rollout, rolling it out to all the districts, I think government stated that they did not have the resources at the time, and they would gradually, as resources are made available, they would gradually try to ensure that that these monies are
covering the whole country.
Yes, are covering the whole country. And therefore, they decided to target 8 persons 80 years and above. But maybe the good news and the bad news at the same time is on the 22nd of September 2025, Cabinet sat down and revised and realized that, okay, yes, we have a very large population of older persons who are not covered by any form of social protection. And therefore, with that in mind, decided to lower the age from 80 to 65 years of age. And decided to increase the amount from 25,000 shillings to 35,000 shillings. This to meet the gap of inflation.
That's right.
But this still remains an unfunded priority. Cabinet has committed itself, but the budget framework paper does not speak the same language.
Doesn't reflect that a particular aspiration.
Yes.
All right. I know there will be a lot of considerations, additions, and deductions in order to meet these particular targets. Talk to us about the policy talk shows that you'll be undertaking as a forum. Of course, you've already done Morning at NTV. I know you do have radio engagements too.
Yes.
In order for the nation, especially those that must understand how this budget framework paper thing rolls out, get on board. Just talk to us about that.
Yes. Yeah, okay. So these talk shows ideally are supposed to build the momentum and to also ensure that we have that political commitment to ensure that what government has committed in words should reflect in the budget framework papers. This budget framework paper ideally is what you call I like to refer to it as a moral document. You know, a moral document to show you that if you're to prioritize a human being, then you need to show it.
Yeah.
You need we need to be able to see it. It should not be words. But really, all these discussions that we are doing is to try to ensure that the unfunded priorities for social protection, including the SAGE. The SAGE initially intimated Cabinet has committed to lowering the age and raising the fee. And what is needed to meet that is 252 billion. Currently, what is available is 121 billion, and that 121 billion has been recurring since financial year 2020-21, meaning that these older persons are not dying and are not being onboarded on the program. So it has been a constant figure.
And the need is simply growing.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Marvin. Joshua Onyang, Monitoring and Evaluation Leader at Uganda Parliamentary Forum on Social Protection, on those perspectives in as far as the National Budget Framework paper is concerned and its slant on social protection. We do hope we'll continue to engage in line with the policy public talk shows that you are rolling out as Ugandans ready themselves for, again, listening to the Minister for Finance, Planning and Economic Development on behalf of the President on how the next financial year will look like. Here, NTV, Morning